Well, good morning. It is the Brian Hornback Experience coming to you from the Old Forge Distillery Podcast Studios. That's right. We got a new background. Thanks to the folks at Old Forge Distillery, we've got a nice background. Now, if you've been tuning in to episodes 172, 171, all the previous episodes before or since Old Forge Distillery has been home for the podcast studio, you know that up here were a few bottles of elixir. I call it elixir. They could still be there. They might not still be there. We'll never really know, will we? But I do want to say before we get started that those who cannot consume alcohol responsibly, please don't consume alcohol. That has been something that has affected friends and family of mine for years. So I appreciate Old Forge Distillery being here. If you can consume the spirits, the elixir as I call it, then I encourage you that when you're in the Pigeon Forge area or when you're at your local establishment that sells intoxicating spirits, that you look at Old Forge Distillery. They've got whiskey, they've got rum, they've got vodka, they've got moonshine. They even have Rocky Top moonshine. And yes, they have paid for the university right to do that. Anyway, it is Saturday, November 2nd. Tonight, up in Townsend, Tennessee, is the annual Grains and Grits Festival. This will be the first one in about 7 years that the wife and I have sat out of the Grains and Grits. It's a great event. Tickets go on sale the 1st of August every year. You need to get your tickets within the first 10 minutes when they go on sale because it sells out quick. It is a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser for the Blount County community and for all the nonprofits in the Blount County area. It's a great fundraising event for them, and it's what it does. It brings distillers, individuals like Old Forge, to Townsend, right there at the visitor center, and they pair them in between. Each distiller is in between some good craft food vendors, such as Walnut Kitchen, such as Dancing Bear, such as Peaceful Side of the Smokies. And so there's elixir, there's food, elixir, food, all the way around. They have this massive wood-shaped, a guy comes in and carves a scene out of a tree trunk. And it's burning because obviously it's cool in November. Sometimes it's been cold, sometimes it's been raining, sometimes it's been beautiful like it is today. But the wife and I were sitting around late July, early August, and it's just one of those things where I said, we've been up there for about 7 or 8 years. Probably need to set one out, so we are. So we'll watch the Tennessee-Kentucky game. There have been some games, unfortunately, that we've had to keep up with during the Grains and Grits Festival. Georgia comes to mind. We checked into a hotel in Townsend to find that their satellite didn't have a local TV, and so we had to keep up with the Georgia game as we were at Grains and Grits. But it's a great festival. It's once a year. It's the first weekend of November. Again, tickets go on sale the 1st of August. So I encourage you, if you've never been and if that's your type of event, giving back to numerous nonprofits, then I encourage you to do so. But hey, we are about 3 days out from the national election. It's the state and federal election, the general election. So we're going to talk about that a little bit here on the 174th edition of the Brian Hornback Experience. I don't have a guest today. I'm just going to talk to you about what's going on. Let's talk first about local. There are a few local elections going on November the 5th. We've got In Knoxville, you have two propositions, if you want to use the California term. There's probably enough of y'all here now that you understand what proposition is. For those of us that have been around here for 100 years, we call it a question. That question, two questions are, question one is about whether the way the city of Knoxville elections have operated, you've had, every 2 years you have an election. 1 year you have the mayor along with several council positions. And I believe the mayor is elected with the district elections. It's only districts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Which one did I leave out? 5. So 5 is elected with the 3 at-large city council positions, okay? So what question 1 does is simply moves District 5, which is currently represented by Charles Thomas. It's been represented in the past very well by Mark Campen, and before Mark Campen, I believe it was Nick Della Volpe, and before Nick Della Volpe, it was Carleen Malone, I believe, if my memory is working well on this Saturday morning, November 2nd. But Mark Campen, I would say, was probably the best District 5 rep in modern history. My opinion. Feel free to make it your own. But what that question 1 will do will move District 5 to then run with Districts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So in that one election year, you'll elect 6 city council members. In the odd year, you would elect the 3 at-large members. Kind of makes sense, I think. I don't have any heartburn over that question. I don't live in a city, but I have no heartburn over that question after having looked at the issues and talking to my friends who are in the city, who have studied the issue, who do have an opinion about it. Now let's talk about question 2. That's the one where you need to vote no. If you were not one of the 170 plus thousand people, 180,000 plus people who voted in early voting between October 16th and October 31st, then I encourage you, if you do live in the city, to vote no on question 2. The question 2 is really a question that was brought by Andrew Roberto, presumably one of the next mayoral candidates for the city of Knoxville. So you could say that this will be his testing ground for his mayoral run in a couple of years when Mayor Kincannon's time is up. She's in her second term and can't run for re-election, can't run for a third consecutive term. So there's several names being floated out, but Andrew Roberto is the one who is the most making the most rounds, making the most talks, and obviously this really will gauge his ability to be successful or not successful as a mayoral candidate. Tommy Smith, city council member, has been rumored to be a possible candidate for city mayor. I was told last night that he's told folks he's not running. Amelia Parker, city council woman at large, lady at large, whatever your term that you like to use for females is rumored to run. There's some others I think that you could probably expect to run. I think it'll be a crowded field, as typically happens in Knoxville and Knox County. Since term limits, people choose to opt to let someone have 2 terms once they've been elected to 1. And so we'll see how that goes. What number 2 question does, though, is the way it currently works, the way it has worked in the past, before this coming year, is that 5 people decide to run for city council in districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Inside that district, in a primary, it gets knocked down to the top 2 vote getters. The top 2 vote getters then go on to a general election. Normally, the city elections used to be September and November. Now they're in August and November. So the district selects the top 2. And then in November, the entire city gets to vote for 1 in each of the districts. The state legislature in 2023 said, you know, Knoxville, that just seems to be kind of a messed up system. So we're going to fix it for you. And let's remember, in the words of Art Loeffler, former economic advisor to President Reagan, he and I disagree on property tax issues, but the one thing that he said recently that I do agree with is that the legislature is the, I just realized something. Hold on, folks. What he said is that the, is that better? Let's see. I'm still pretty ugly. It don't matter if I got lights or not, but let's get them on just so we can say we did it right. But what Art Loeffler said is that the reason the legislature was created is to call the balls and strikes, be the umpire of local government. And that makes sense when you really get to thinking about it. If you go all the way up to Congress, Congress would be the umpire for the states, right? And then the states would be the umpire for the locals, right? And then, the locals is where the government is. Those 180,000 of you that voted early, why don't you come out for early elections? It's early elections that determine your property taxes. It's local elections that determine your sales tax. I don't understand why we continue to have local elections where only 20 to 30 to possibly 40,000 people vote. That'll be a podcast for another day. But the legislature is the one that calls the balls and strikes. So the legislature in 23 said, you know what, Knoxville, the way you're doing it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem feasible. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that going forward, starting in 2025, which is this coming year, this coming election, you will elect by district in the primary. We've always done that. They've always done that in Knoxville, right? I've only lived in Knoxville for 6 months out of my married life, but outside of that, they said, Knoxville, you're going to select your 2 candidates in the primary in the district. And then in November, you're going to select one out of the same district. So no more. The only time that the entire city is going to vote on something is for the 3 at-large members. The entire city will vote for in the primary and in the general for the at-large members and for the mayor. Okay, so the entire city gets to choose 4, gets to choose 3 council members, right? Let's first say they get to choose 1 mayor, 3 council members, and then each district gets to choose 1. So out of a 9-member council, everybody is getting to select 4, right? They're getting to select 3 at-larges and 1 from their district. Makes perfect sense to me. It's representative government. Remember, this country is a representative republic, okay? So that is the way the legislature said to do it. What did Andrew Roberto do? He said, hey, we don't like this. We don't like the legislature telling us what to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that the entire city is at large. So the entire city gets to vote on districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 3 at-larges. Well, that's all well and good until you really get to looking at the fact you got about 4 districts where the districts all come together, and it's really kind of around the Sullivan Avenue area where districts 6 and 2 and 3 and I believe 4 all kind of come together. So you literally could elect those 4 people from right there within the same 4-mile radius, right? Also, what you're doing is you're limiting you're giving people, you're not limiting. What you're doing is you're allowing those people that have more money that would be able to buy more advertising to go citywide. So when you're in the 6th district and you're in the Fair Garden, Burlington area, and you want to be a city council person, and you don't have a lot of necessary wealth, but you have a lot of connections within Fair Garden and Burlington, your ability to be effective in the primary and then into the general is going to be greatly diminished. So what you're doing is, in the new system that the city council, in direct conflict with state law, is you're watering down the ability for a blue collar community activist to become a city council member to represent their district. And what you're doing is you're allowing those that have the ability to be at the boardroom to then become the voice for that community, and that voice might not exactly be what is best for that community. So again, it's the county trying to. It's the city trying to be in complete defiance of the state change. And so I encourage you to vote no. If it gets voted no, it's a moot issue. We go on to what the legislature intended. If it passes, I look for an opinion by the Attorney General. Then I expect that to go into court. So it may be years before we ever get a definitive answer on it. But we need. I believe that the city needs to follow what the state legislature intended. Their role is to do what is best for the city. And, people will argue that, well, they're not the representative of the city. Well, they're representative of the state. And their role, as Art Loeffler said, was to call the balls and strikes. The other problem that we have with Mr. Roberto, City Councilman Roberto's proposal is that if someone gets 50% plus one, let's say in the 6th district, which is the Burlington Fair Garden area, then they don't have to run in a general election. They run unopposed. Well, what good is that? That certainly is not a choice. So clearly you're giving it to the one with the most money, with the most ability to pay to play. And I just think that's wrong. Okay. So that's where I'm at on that. Let's go now to the state legislature in particular, which, well, I'll try to hit on most of them around the area. Tom Stennett is running over in Blount County to replace former one-term representative Brian Ritchie. Tom, I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last couple of months. Going to be a great legislator for Blount County. He will join Jerome Moon, who's also been serving for a few years over in Blount County in the state legislature. Two guys who I don't want to use the term cut their teeth, but two guys that have really learned how to represent constituents from the county commission level. Now Jerome's been in the state legislature for a couple of terms, and now Tom Stennett should be joining him after Tuesday, November the 5th. Art Swan, the former state senator from Blount County, Blount, Sevier, Monroe, I think. He opted to retire. He's had I believe some medical issues. So Art decided not to run. So Tom Hatcher, former court clerk over there in Blount County, won that primary, beating the one-term Brian Ritchie along with another individual. And so Tom Hatcher will be a great state senator for Blount, Monroe, Polk. And so that's going to be good. Up in Sevier County, Del Carr had opted not to run for re-election. Fred Ashley, a gentleman I met a couple of weeks ago off of Cameron Sexton's Tennessee Freedom bus. Again, another guy that represented at the county commission level, still representing the county commission level right now, and I'm assuming until he gets elected on November 5th. He'll be going to Nashville to represent the good folks of Sevier County in the legislature. I believe that Mr. Ashley, too, will represent his district as well as Representative Carr did. And then coming back toward home, over in Anderson County, in District 33, Rick Scarborough, a guy I've really gotten to know over the last several months. He won the primary, defeating a former representative now soon to be a former representative, and he should win re-election on November 5th. Representative Scarborough will do a phenomenal job for Anderson County, and looking forward to seeing what he can do. Of course, he joins the representative from Roane County, Monty Fritz. He joins the representative from Loudon and Monroe, Lowell Russell. Great guy. Lowell's a fantastic individual. Does a really great job representing his constituents. Let's bring it on home to Knoxville now. In District 14, you got Jason Zachary. He's chairman of Rules Committee. You have in District 15, Sam McKenzie. The Republicans are targeting with a gentleman by the name of Justin Hurst. In District 16, Michelle Carringer, Representative Michelle Carringer, former county commissioner, went on to the legislature, served a couple of terms. I think this is her third term up. She's being challenged by a Democrat. Shouldn't be much of a problem. Let's skip over 18 for a minute, and let's go to 19. Representative Dave Wright, another county commissioner, has gone on the legislature. He's unopposed. And then in District 89, Justin Lafferty's up for re-election again. He's been over there for a few terms, and he's vice chair of one of the education subcommittees. And then in District 90, that Democrat's unopposed in the Republican primary. Don't worry. 2026, the Republicans are coming after District 90. 2026, the Republicans are coming for District 90. Not only will she lose the U.S. Senate race that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, but she's got 2 years left in the state house, and the Republicans are coming for District 90. Let's go back to District 18. State Representative Elaine Davis has served for one term. She replaced a one-term former representative. District 18 really encompasses a lot of northwest, West Knox County, like the Cedar Bluff area, goes on into like the Dean Hill area, goes on into Sequoia, and then takes a large swath of South Knoxville. Here's what District 18 really has to decide, and it's a competitive race. I'm not going to say it's not a competitive race. I support Elaine Davis. I support Elaine Davis to the point of the ad on brianhornback.com is being provided to Elaine Davis as an in-kind ad. That's how much I'm supporting Elaine Davis. Now, I don't live in District 18. I live in District 14. But my friends in the legislature tell me that over the last 2 years, Elaine Davis has been a good state representative. She's been a part of the supermajority. She has voted for things to support what the party and what the supermajority want. And here's what District 18 has to decide. Do you want somebody who's going to be part of the working group in the legislature? Do you want somebody that's going to be part of the working group in the legislature, casting votes, having the ability to either help District 18 or not? Or are you going to vote for somebody who's going to be in the super minority party, who's not going to be able to pass gas in the chamber, who's not going to be able to pass a single bill, not going to be able to do one single thing to a piece of legislation, will be able to get recognized, will be able to grandstand like the other Democrats, like the District 90 representative, like the representative out of Nashville, like the representative out of Memphis, like the representative that graduated from South Doyle High School that's representing an area over in Middle Tennessee. You know, you can get up and pontificate all day long, but are you actually going to be able to cast a vote that makes a difference? District 18, here's your problem. You can maybe not like the positions of Representative Davis, but if you don't vote for Representative Davis, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face, because you'll never get anything for your district if you go the other direction. So here's my challenge, District 18. Re-elect Elaine Davis. Again, I'm committed to Elaine Davis. not because Elaine and I are necessarily close. Elaine Davis and I are close. We're I don't want to say we're not close. I don't want to say we are close. What I'm willing to say to you is Elaine Davis and I are cordial to one another. We respect one another. Even when we disagree, we respect one another. We can talk about where we disagree. But at the end of the day, my friends that work with her in Nashville say we want Elaine Davis back. Elaine Davis was a good, solid representative with the Tennessee Republican Caucus, and we want her back. And so I'm going to the extent of having provided her campaign an in-kind ad on brianhornback.com, and I'm willing to support Elaine Davis because my friends that I trust, some that I've known since 1998, trust Elaine Davis and believe that she's the right person for District 18. That's where I'm at on that. State Senator Becky Massey's up for re-election in District 6. She performed exceptionally well in the primary. She will do exceptionally well November the 5th. Her opponent had originally announced at a Black Caucus event about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, that she was going to run for state rep. She somehow switched to run for state senate. Here's hoping that she decides that her decision to run for state senate was not the right decision. And so here's hoping that she'll in turn decide to run for something else in the future. Anyway, going on beyond that, Congressman Tim Burchett should squeak into a new term. His opponent, from what I'm hearing, has had some interesting things on their financial disclosure. I haven't had a chance to look into that yet, but he's being challenged by a Democrat who had run for state senator before. So I think Representative Burchett's okay. U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, great friend of mine, was the very first guest ever on the Brian Hornback Experience right here. She's being challenged by the state representative here in Knoxville, District 90, Marsha should be fine. The presidential election, man, I'm just trying to figure out how much I'm going to enjoy my cell phone when it's not alerting me every few seconds about giving some more money for the election. But I guess all that'll stop on November 6th, maybe. I think that clearly in Tennessee, it's Trump territory. Trump should carry 60, 70, 75% of the vote. I think that's where we're going to be. About the swing states, I'm not 100% sure. I'm hearing that Texas, between Ted Cruz and Allred, are close. I'm not sure. I'm not really, I watch the same stuff y'all watch. I'm not really plugged into that stuff. I'm plugged into the Tennessee stuff, but I'm not really plugged into the other stuff across the country. I don't believe we're going to know exactly on Tuesday night who the winner's going to be, but we'll see. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts. There's nothing past president on the agenda on the presidential ballot, so that's kind of runs us through the 2024 November 5th ballot. That's really what I want to get on here and talk to you about here on episode 174 of the Brian Hornback Experience from the Old Forge Distillery podcast studio. Sure appreciate my folks at Old Forge giving us a nice backdrop. That certainly does capture the image of the Old Forge Distillery. Those folks are the same folks that you can go to the Old Mill, if you know where the Old Mill restaurant is, near the, then go get you a meal at the Old Mill, and then go get you some distillery products to take home. But they got a lot of good stuff. They got a lot of apparel. They got a lot of hats. They got a lot of everything in the Old Forge Distillery. But go up there to Pigeon Forge, check them out. Be sure and let them know that you are a BrianHornback.com or Brian Hornback Experience listener. Also, mykindofday.com. mykindofday.com. Go there. They have hats. They have license plates. If you put in the code Bullhorn10, all caps, BULLHORN 10, Bullhorn10, you'll get 10% off your order. So go check it out. They got hats. They got, I should have had a hat on today. I have the Crush 'em hat here, the newest of the 4 new releases. But because of the election, I'm wearing Tennessee for Trump. I'm wearing a drink local from another distillery. And I got the old Forge in here. But mykindofday.com. Instagram on their website, mykindofday.com. Go to their website, buy some stuff, put in Bullhorn10 and get 10% off. They have, they'll ship it to you, but they'll also allow you to pick it up, or within the Knoxville area, they'll deliver it to you free of charge. Bullhorn10 for 10% off, mykindofday.com. All right, y'all have a great day. Let's go Vols. Let's beat the Wildcats out of Kentucky.